Oh, hello, and welcome to Story Time. Today we're going to tell the story about our latest rare and limited release, 7’s. Before I get into 7’s, let's talk about this gold coin right here. So, gold coin, vintage blend, proof down. This was not supposed to be the original gold coin release. Special batch, a small batch was supposed to be this first gold coin rare and limited release. So you got to remember, I did this, oh my goodness gracious, almost 5 years ago, because it finally released at the end of 2020, which is 4 years ago, and I started at the beginning of 2020, which was almost 5 years ago. And so we had four of them. We had batch number one. There was I think caramel yum yum juice, and then this guy right here, the only 5 year. The only 5 year was supposed to be a fun little release. It's a single barrel of a 5 year. This was supposed to have a shelf price of about, oh, I don't know, $50. I think our FOB to distributors was something like $14.50. Yeah, they ended up selling for, I don't know, like $4,000 a bottle. It was insane, and there was all this backlash directed towards me. Like, people were like, "Is this what it's come to? We're doing rare and limited 5 year releases." And I was like, that was supposed to be a fun release. It was like, hey, would you like your own barrel and have it cost under $50? Here you go. Because when I did this in the beginning of 2020, we were only in 3 states: Arizona, where our distributor at the time was trying to kill the brand, so we weren't doing anything. Here, of course, Nevada and California. So there was like supposed to be enough to go around. And by the time we got label approval from the TTB, we didn't release till the end of 2020, and the brand had blown up and everything was crazy. Actually, the reason it took so long is because normally the logo is, in separate. This, when it's all one label, this whole thing is considered the brand label. On something like the normal releases, where there's a small label, that's your brand label, and then everything else is separate from the brand label. So this was the first time that it said Bibimus Moriendum S on the brand label, and the TTB agent I was dealing with said it was false advertising because I was telling people that they would die if they didn't drink. And I finally just pulled it and sent it to a new TTB agent, and it was approved within a week. But the whole process took about a year, so it didn't get released until the end of 2020, when the brand had blown up. And then, the caramel yum yum juice sold for a ridiculous amount, and even batch number one, which was 1,500 bottles, that sold for silly money. So all of a sudden, I'm looking at the soon-to-be-released special batch, small batch, which is 70% 4 year, which is way more 4 year than normal small batch. And then also, this was actually already in bottles. It was in regular small batch bottles, and I had just written special batch, small batch on the back in, Sharpie. But since we were doing the rare and limiteds, I dumped it all and we rebottled it. And when I dumped it, I realized that the person who proofed it down way back just didn't do it right. And at this time, now we had the TTB approved hydrometer, and it was actually 98 point something proof. It wasn't even 100 proof. It had more 4 year than regular small batch. And I was like, this was supposed to retail cheaper than small batch. Small batch back then was like 50. It's a little more now. We sell more, so a lot of our excise tax is $13.20 a proof gallon now, versus under the Craft Distillers Act, it was $2.80, something like that. And then also the packaging costs kept going up, and even though I abandoned the gift boxes and things like that, it's still, we had to raise the price on small batch and uncut. And so this was supposed to be like $44, $45, and I was just like, no, no way. no way are we releasing this. This is going to sell for way too much money. And I've already gotten backlash for this, which, people don't know. They don't know what the SRP is. They just see what it is on the shelf. They think I'm an asshole selling 5-year for like $2,000 to $4,000 a bottle when, our I think I got it wrong. Our FOB, I think it said $14. It was like $24 or $24, something like that. It's supposed to retail for under SRP under 50. And this was supposed to have an SRP of like 45. I was like, it's never going to happen. This is going to sell for way too much money. It's going to be ridiculous. And the other thing is, this is actually good now. There's so much char. I don't know if you can see it, but there's so much char infused in this that this is actually aged over time. And now it's good. When I first did it, it just was a funny story. And it was interesting. It was like, some people thought it was good. Some people thought it was interesting. I don't know. It wasn't definitely worth more than $45, that's for sure. And so I just gave it all away. I was like, I am not going to sell this in that current market for that ridiculous price. So I didn't put coins on it. I never got the gold coin. We just gave these away. COVID, that December, I gave them away by a 6-pack for the holidays, because I knew people were having a hard time. And then we gave like 20 cases away during the Western Kentucky tornado relief. And so that's the story of that. Now it's 2024. The over $55 price point has fallen off a cliff. I'm going to do 3 batches of this. So the first batch is 1,600 bottles. They will all be totally consistent. We already have all the barrels dumped into 3 tanks so that each batch will be batched identically. And so nothing's aging. It's all out of the barrel. It's all in tanks. It's all sitting ready to go. So hopefully that everybody will get a chance to get this. And then I did end up proofing it down to 108. The reason for that is to get the blend to taste good. I mean, that's all I care about, is I want stuff to taste good. It was not unique. It went a little traditional bourbon heavy to get it to where I thought it finished nice, and it started losing all the uniqueness. So when I did like virtually a third from each tank of each mash bill and proofed it down, it just really opened up, and a lot of these flavors came to the forefront, and the oak was buried, and you could really taste a lot more of the subtle baking spice, and the finish was beautiful. The finish was not good. Cast strength is great when something tastes its best cast strength. That was the whole philosophy behind Uncut Unfiltered. If something does not taste its best cast strength, I'm not going to release it, and then people try it non-cast strength, and it doesn't taste good, and I'm like, well, maybe you should add some water just for the sake of releasing something cast strength. That's ridiculous, in my opinion. If you got a problem with it being proofed down to 108, that's the beauty of capitalism. You get to vote with your dollars. Don't buy it. If it sits, then I'll be like, oh, wow, I did it, so I thought it tasted best, but people don't want 108 proof. It's not like I proved it down to 88 or something. It's still 108 proof. I have not had this out of the bottle yet, so we're going to have it together for the first time. Oh, yeah. Oh, so let's talk about, the 60% corn, 36% rye, 4% malt. That's our traditional mash bill that we use for almost everything. Those 7 years, I don't remember where they came from. They were in Las Vegas for quite a period of time, because those are the 7 years I brought in for Uncut Unfiltered, and that stuff I always let sit. The traditional rye has been aging in Las Vegas. The 51 rye, 51 rye, 45 corn, 4 barley malt. That has been aged in Las Vegas for well over a year. I brought those in when they were barely 6 years old, and now they're going to be 8 years old pretty soon. And then the 51 corn, 39% rye, 10 malt. That's what we're doing single barrels with. These are Warehouse J. It's old Seagram's warehouse. Warehouse J is actually on the basement floor, the ground floor. That's where they fill all the barrels. And so this is, I believe, third floor. Third floor is palletized. I have inventory on the fourth floor, which is racked. So I wonder if the third floor used to be something different and they just started putting barrels in there and was not originally a floor where they were aged when Seagram's built that. So that's what we got going on here. God, that smells like, that smells totally different. Usually when you open something of mine, it has a very floral fragrance. That smells like deep chocolate and all these other flavors. It's already blended. I don't have to spit it out. I'm not doing anything else today. Let's see how it tastes. Oh, yeah. There is still tons of black tea. There's still big oak on the back of my tongue in the finish. This was way too oaky at cast strength. It's very similar, not an overall flavor profile, but overall philosophy of what I did with Desert Colt. Desert Colt, I proofed down to 104 because those 10 years off the fourth floor of Warehouse G were pretty over oaked. And proofing them down brought forth the sweet flavors and buried the oak. And this was just slightly over oak, so only had to bring it down to 108. It's still, the ethanol heat's there. It does not drink like water. It still has a very creamy mouthfeel. Tons of oak spice. Big oak spice, big pepper spice. A little bit of that sweet 10%. Oh, this is a big wintertime, fall time, delicious treat. It's got big oak. There's some soft, delicate maple syrup, but overall, and that's like on the finish, but overall, I'm telling you, oak dominant on the finish, 100%. There's that black tea. There is white and black pepper, oak spice. It all, and then I'm left with like this maple syrup honey coating on my tongue with some light cinnamon spice on the finish. Oh my goodness gracious, that is delicious. That is so much better out of the bottle than my blend. That is so complex. That is amazing. Hey, look, it's mine, but I'm not lying. I wouldn't lie to you because I don't want. There's going to be people that don't want those flavors. There's going to be people that don't like big oak or big pepper or those things. So I'm not going to lie about the flavor profile because I don't want anybody buying it that's not going to enjoy it. And that's why I try to tell you what flavors I'm experiencing so that it's either something you relate to and that's what you like or it's not. Because I can't make stuff that everybody's going to like all the time. All I can do is blend stuff so that I like it. And hopefully other people like it too. That's all I can ask for. It still has an incredibly creamy mouthfeel. Even, the oak. Anybody that tries this who's in this industry will know that this would be way too oaky if it was not proofed down. That's how big the oak is. This makes winter oak look like not so oaky. This is pretty oaky. And it's just beautiful. It's a beautiful, some of these are like big flavor journeys. Some of them you hit a wall. This is all kind of round. It's just up front, there's vanilla and just beautiful sweet flavors, and they coincide with that oak finish. And then the oak just slowly, well, maybe there's a little bit of flavor journey, but not really, because the oak just kind of slowly dissipates and you're left with like all those sugars on your tongue, all that, naturally occurring sugars. This is a straight whiskey, right? So when you blend a straight rye and a straight bourbon together, you get a straight whiskey. And when you're dealing with rye, the word straight is very important because rye is not regulated the way bourbon is. Straight bourbon at this point is somewhat archaic because once it was made a distinct product of the United States, you could no longer put any flavors or non-alcohol blenders. That is not the case with rye. If a rye is not a straight rye, it can have 1.99% flavors and 2.49% non-alcohol blenders. So this being a straight whiskey lets you know that everything comes from the grain. We've added nothing. I'm going to have another little sippy sipper. Mmm. 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 God, that malted rye. I've been doing so many private barrel samples. I can tell that it's just got like a hint of bubble gum up front, and that's coming from that malted rye. But since we have two other mash bills in there, it's so subtle. You really gotta. I think if I didn't know it existed, it's there. I can taste it, but then up front, lots of vanilla, tons of vanilla, and then like I said, each sip your palate starts getting desensitized to all that oak, so it's not quite as big as the first ones, but I'm very happy with this. This is delicious. I haven't done a rare and limited in 2 years. I want the rare and limited to be special. I don't just release stuff for the sake of it. This is special. This is beautiful, and it tastes unique, and it doesn't taste like anything else. And and that's how I want them to be. And that sounds funny, because look, we're gonna do 3 batches, so maybe this batch isn't super rare because if I can get 1,600 bottles per batch or more, that's going to be it's going to be like not quite 40 4,600 bottles. I'm sorry, no, 4,800 bottles, almost 5,000 bottles. But the frequency, our limited offerings are limited. The business model is not to do a new LTO every week. The rare and limiteds, I know there's going to be hype behind them, and I have to be inspired to create one and want it to be special. And that's how I feel about this. And so I'm going to finish this, and I'm going to finish this. And I didn't have a cigar yet because I didn't want to taint my palate before I tasted this for you. Mmm. That is so good. Oh, there's so much going on. And I'll talk to you later. Thanks.